Morning. If you're really, really happy where you are right now, if life is amazing and you feel as if you are so aligned with the universe and are peaceful and healthy and joyful, scroll off. You don't need me today. For the rest of y'all, listen up. The last couple of days, I've heard a lot of excuses. A lot. I could give a list. But instead, I'm going to tell you a story. And I'm going to use a fake name to protect the innocent. Now, for those of you that know me, I spent 33 years in the classroom. And I've seen a lot of gritty kids. Let me tell you about one today. So his name was Ray. That's his fake name. He came to me in third grade. He was 7. He was angry. He was not trustworthy. He was extremely hyperactive and not very interested in school. He didn't read well. He didn't sit in his seat well. Good morning. It's my friend. He didn't sit in his seat well. And he created a lot of havoc in my classroom from day one. But because I am who I am, I decided to dig deep. Because whenever I have a student like that, I know there's a reason why. And I know that I could effectively change some of his circumstance. Because that's what I do. I don't just say open a math book, but I really got to know my kids. So let me tell you about him. He was an immigrant, didn't speak our language when he got here. He wore different clothes, spoke a different language, ate different food, felt completely alone, left out, embarrassed, and acted out. His own parents had many issues. One of them was the way they mistreated their son. Good morning, Pat. So by the time he got to third grade, he had already been mistreated and decided to pick me to share it with. So when he got to his family's restaurant after school, it was homework time. Well, he had just spent 7.5 hours trying to contain his behavior all day, not always successfully, hearing a language he didn't really understand, not being so successful in school. And now, as customers are coming in and out of a restaurant, and there's a lot of activity going on, he's asked to sit in the storefront window and do his work, which he didn't really understand. That didn't go so well for him. So one day, he came to school, and when I walked the class to art, he said to me, "Can I come back to the room with you?" Now, this was very peculiar because he was, and still is, an amazing artist. Art was his favorite class. So I knew something was up. And I said, of course, sure. We came back to the room and we sat at the back reading table and he broke down hysterical crying. And when I asked him what was wrong, he showed me his hands. His hands, the top part of his hands, were pricked, like a ton of little holes. He had been pricked repeatedly as punishment with a needle. He could describe the needle in detail. He could describe when it happened, why it happened, how often it happened. And then he began to tell me all of the things that happened to him. horrific things that I don't even want to repeat on a public platform like this. But they required pain, long endured pain, and a lot of fear and bullying and threatening. So as a reporting agency, as a teacher, you have to report it. And I did. And that's not the point of this story. Point of the story is I worked very closely with that student. And he had a lot of adult support in the school. And we continue to support him all the way through school. He spent holidays at my house, eating lots of candy. And he's now in college on a full scholarship, academic scholarship. I believe he's going into architecture and engineering of some sort. Makes sense. He reads beautifully. His math is exquisite, hence the field he's majoring in. And I follow him on his social feed at school with his permission, and he's having the time of his life. See, he could have had a lot of excuses. He had a reason to quit. He could write a book on why not to dream. But he didn't. And it wasn't because he had me as a teacher. He'll tell you that. I know better. Yes, having adults believe in you, inspire you, give you the tools that you need to make major changes in your life is important. I don't want to diminish that. But this is what's more important. It was his desire to change. His desire to change. If he didn't have that, nothing I did or said or gave him would have made any difference. I used to whisper in his ear in third grade, this won't always be your circumstance. I used to say to him, you're going to get out of this. You're going to get out of this. That's what I'd say in his ear. And at one point in his teens, he almost drowned and was in a coma for a short period of time. And I went up to the hospital, and his mom took a break, and I stayed with him and talked to him, which, by the way, he says he remembers. He couldn't communicate. His eyes were closed. But they always say you can hear when you're in a coma. And I was saying to him that day, this is not your circumstance. This is not your forever. This doesn't have to be your life. And I used to always remind him, when you're 18, if you need me, call me. He didn't need me. There were lots of angels in his life, but he didn't make excuses. His desire to change is what he needed to change. And so it is for all of us. Some of you have been watching me on my journey for the 506 days I've been on it. Some of you are in the same place you were 506 days ago, and some of you aren't. Some of you are better. Some of you are a little better. Some of you have hit brick walls. And some of you are worse. We're all in different places. But it's not because of your circumstance. It's not because of your spouse, your kids, your job, the coronavirus. I could go on and on. It's not. Ray, not his real name, had needles stuck in his hands every day. And he still dreamt about a better life for himself. And so can you. So what we did was we gave that child the tools and the opportunity and the inspiration. But had he not had his own want, his own really strong desire to change, he wouldn't have changed. I have have a million stories of people like that in my life. And you know what? Some of them are really scarier than that one. I opted for that one today because that one's not as scary as the one I hold closest to my heart. But I think that rather than feel like, oh gosh, I've had all of these burdens to bear, I quite differently see it as the universe's lesson to me that what we need in this life to thrive is grit. It's the seeing an obstacle and knowing there's a way through it. Sure, the way through it might not be an easy way, but there's a way through it. So if my student at age 7 or 8 can take that physical abuse day in and day out and get himself a full scholarship to college, and he's having the time of his life, and he's going to do great things and change the world, you can change yours too. But the desire to change is what you need. Good morning. It has to come from within. Then all of the tools and all of the support will help you. But only then. So if you've been watching me for 506 days and you're still in the same place or worse, come on. Let's go. Link arms. Let's get it done. There's no guarantees in this life. Choose you. If you don't think you could do it alone, grab a partner. Grab somebody you love. Make a change. No excuses. Let my student be a testament to that. Okay, speech over. Yeah, I've been out here for about 4 miles, and do you want to hear a funny story to lighten the mood? I'm about 1.5 miles in, it started to sprinkle, and some very old man came out of his house. And he said, "Hey, where's your umbrella?" And I thought he was going to yell at me. And I was like, "It's okay, I have a hat." He goes, "Well, if it rains any harder, we're going to have sugar all over the road because you're so sweet." I cracked up. It was classic. I would have kissed him, but, coronavirus. All right, guys. Sermon over for today. What's the lesson? Grit. I like to spell my grit Gritt. Be well. See you tomorrow.